he's really not. He's actually really intelligent, but he plays stupid. And the line that always gets me, he goes, "You'll be surprised how interesting the world becomes when people think you're really stupid."
That could have come out of my own mouth.
Yeah.
You ever hear prolicide? Do you think that is something in recent decades? Not literal prolicide, but sort of sabotaging your kids because you think that they'll lose their innocence, and by doing that, you completely debilitate them. Do you think that's a new fad, or I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I have a very interesting perspective on all that because of the way that I was raised. I was handed a lot of kind of difficult things, and I was told that it was to make me stronger so that I could deal with the real world. And in ways, it was very helpful because I learned not to trust anyone. But in ways, it was debilitating because I didn't know how to trust anyone. You know, I don't think I really. I really think it's more like a sign of the times, or like something that has grown this like generation to generation. I don't think it always existed, or maybe it didn't exist in the forms that it does now, where it's so overt. I think that there's always, I mean, it's kind of like coaches. Like whenever you watch a sport or like you watch any type of coaching, your coach never tells you that you're like doing everything right and perfect and that you're just like completely 100% spot on, because at that point most people, and I would venture at least 80% of normal people, if you told them they were doing the most perfect awesome job, they would stop doing the most perfect awesome job, you know. So
yeah, you're like, I can slow down now.
Yeah, you know, it's like, okay, I got it, so now I just gotta like kind of hit cruise control and I'm good.
Oh
and
man, you know that's really interesting. Yeah, that's been sort of been some of my troubles, like resolutions I want to make or things I want to do, and it's always like, I'm doing really good. Okay, let's quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at the same time, it's like if you always feel like you were pushing against the wall and like forever like trying to push that rock uphill, eventually you will quit, because it's like, okay, you know, it's like the amount of effort put in versus gain. You know, like you can only beat somebody down so much until they either revolt against you, which is never good, or they just flat out quit. You know.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I think I lost my focus there for a second. I've been having ADHD issues, listeners. Could you go backtrack a little bit?
Yeah. I was saying, you know, you can. I use the metaphor of pushing a rock up a hill, but really it's just adversity in general. You know, you can only push somebody down or set up layers of adversity for someone for so long before they either out and out revolt against you or they quit.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you oppress somebody long enough, even if they die, and I mean that, like you can go through history and see evidence of this in just about any culture you can name. You know, it may not be the generation that you're oppressing right then and there, but there will be another generation that rises up against you and can literally literally kills you, because you can only push somebody's head underwater for so long before they die or they fight back. And, once you push someone to the point where they have it's that fight or flight thing, man, you're almost better off if they quit, because if they turn against you, they're going to have everything that you gave them, all of that push and drive that you gave them to fight the adversity that you set up before them, plus the angst, plus the, I got nothing to lose because I don't even know what's at the top of the hill or on the other side of the wall, Kind of like shutting someone down to tunnel vision isn't always the best route if you're trying to impress a person or a group of people. That's why they use things like ignorance, like not allowing people to be educated, because if you're not educated, then your imagination gets stifled because you literally don't have the materials to create a vision of what could be better for you. And you're in a place where you're just like, this is what I know.
Well, I disagree with that only because of my experience. I taught myself every damn thing I know. And that's because no one would teach it to me. And I know a lot. So, you're not limited by your education. You can always get more on your own prerogative.
Right, but see, that's why, groups that are trying to subjugate a people will remove books, remove media, remove anything and everything that involves the outside world.
What is there? Have you watched The Handmaid's Tale?
I've watched, I think maybe a season or two of that, and yeah, you see how,
they'll cut off their hands if they read a book.
Right. And see, so you got two fronts there. You've got ignorance because there's no media for them to take in, or that's the stuff of imagination. Once you read a book or hear someone talk, you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's when the brain starts going. It's like it starts forming, it starts filling in the blanks of what life could be, the possibility of something different. Then you have fear. It's like, okay, if you manage to get your hands around something that will lead you to that next step, we will cause you physical pain. We will deform you. We will make your life harder. So it's like, you think about, okay, if I pick up a book and I get my hands cut off, especially in the world that they had, so one, you have no hands, so you can't serve. So that reduces you to what? That's putting you in.
Well, no, they only cut. They're smarter than that. They only cut one hand off.
Right, because they needed them to do whatever they were doing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But still, that's.
Raj approved of the sound on this one. I was having a little trouble hearing it, but I think that I think it's good enough. If it's not, then please request a re-record, any listeners, and we will do that. I had a real hard time getting some of the syllables. See, Raj is down in New Jersey. And so I was recording this over the phone, and for some reason, some of the specific syllables in this particular poem are hard to hear. Raj said that he could hear it, so hopefully you will too. Maybe my ears are just funny. Anyways, it's an interesting interview anyway.
This one is called A Fighting Tongue. Blind to the difference between shared and mine. Blind to the twisted processes that suit your agendas, not fine. The status of your aberration shouldn't be the baseline. It changes all the time. You are not in control. You dress me as a villain when I stand naked before you. When I put down pain to pick up trust, you slap it away and dash my hopes on rocks. Trapped in a glass coffin, watching roses wilt. And inside I tilt just a little more to the right. Teetering on the edge of never ending, inevitable calamity That is my connection to humanity. Deaf ears become receptive to volume, not substance. Deaf ears become excuses to why you can't understand. My pain is the same as yours, expressed through my eyes. You need your boundaries pristine, trudging mud through mine, with loud words spoken serpentine. A bloodletting to cure the unseen disease. I let the blood run down the front of my face, and now my shirt is stained. Would that the same could be said for the words that bleed the life from this game. Smirks and smiles in private guise become so demure in the public eye. A selection of truth, the same set of lies, and I have to wonder if you realize.
Okay, what went into creating Of Biting Tongue? What went into the making of that?
Originally, this started as a song idea. I probably have a version of me playing this as a song. And really, this is a purge. I think I might have edited this one at some point to make it a song, hence the rhyming. But yeah, this really is a organized purge of emotion.
Okay. Yeah. I was noticing that with some of the other ones, but I won't get into that because I have a really good question about that topic, but having to do with a different poem. And I just thought, how do you see the poem? Do you see it as you today, or do you see it as, man, back when I wrote that, I was paranoid, or something, you know?
Wow, I mean, well, I'm lucky. I have it on my OneNote, so I can see the date, and the date is from May of 2017. So I've definitely gone through a bunch of changes, and the situation that was present during this situation no longer exists. But it resonates because it kind of, like, even though I'm talking about a specific situation, it kind of still resonates with how I feel about how I relate to the world, and how the world in general relates to, like, matters of empathy and relating to one another. I know we had a discussion about grief and how people see grief as anger or rage, and I think that kind of speaks to this in ways.
Yeah, seems to be a theme throughout your work, at least this work.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that one. I thought it was one. I don't take this the wrong way, because I believe I asked you to bring pieces that maybe weren't complete or you were still working on. Did you do that, or are these completed?
Well, I never consider anything that I do complete.
Okay.
And this is one of those. I mean, like I said, it was a song. At one point, I shouldn't say I performed it, but I prototyped it as a song. So it is a bit more polished than usual, but it's still raw. Like I didn't go back to edit anything before, doing this. Like I didn't try to make anything perfect before the show or anything like that.
Well, it's the only one of the poems where I would say I was a little confused in spots. You brought it all together at the end of it, but I was a little confused in a couple spots because I believe there's two characters that you're speaking of in the poem, right?
Actually, it's only, and the reason I can venture that the reason why there's confusion is because there's nothing, like, there's no real hook in it. I kind of, it's one of the things that I do in my songwriting where I'll take something that's used as a chorus